Okay, so welcome everyone. There are a lot of new friends and faces in this Zoom today, and I'm very excited about it. As usual, we will start our Zoom call, our community call, with an attunement to bring all our body, mind, and spirit here in this space. And I would like to invite Amina to lead us with the attunement of today.
Thank you, Kin. Hello, everyone. Welcome, Hiroko, Charlie, old friends, new friends, GENOA family. I'm Amina, for those of who don't know me. I'm part of the network Steward Circle from GENOA. And today I would like to share a poem with you, which is from the Hopi Prophecy. Recently, I've been part of the EDE course of GEN, which is the Ecovillage Design Education. And this prayer and prophecy was shared with us. So I would like to share it forward here today. So the invitation is to just be at ease, sink into your seat, gently close your eyes, soften your body and your insides, open your heart, connect it to your lineage of ancestors, your sacred lineage. Let's call in the blessings of our family, our friends, our country, our parents, and our ancestors. Breathing in and breathing out. Inhale and exhale. Let the breath become you as you tune into the wisdom words of the Hopi prophecy and the prayer. Let it move through you and let it move you to a new understanding. You have been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell them that this is the hour. There are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in right relationship? Where is your water? Do you know your garden? It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. It is time to be good and loving to each other. And do not look outside of yourself for the leader. Then he clasped his hands together and smiled and said, "This could be a good time to understand. There is a river flowing very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they are being torn apart and will suffer greatly. Know that the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, keep our eyes open and our heads above the water, and say, see who is there with you and celebrate. See who is there with you and celebrate. See who is there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we should take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and our journeys will come to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves, banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. Bring in the attitude of gratitude. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones that we have been waiting for. Adding to this prayer, The words of Marianne Williamson. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of the universe that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And as we are liberated from our fears and our limitations, our presence automatically liberates others. Breathing into our body, breathing into our breath, connecting to what liberation feels in our body. Coming into a liberated, loving self that liberate us and our communities with a smile in your heart and a smile in every cell and pore of your body. Open your eyes and come back to our circle, to our community.
Thank you so much, Amina, for the beautiful poem, starting this loving community call of today. And since there are a lot of new friends, new faces in the circle, I would like to introduce the call a little bit. So this is one of the monthly community call of GENOA, the Global Ecovillage Network in Oceania and Asia. And it is hosted by the GENOA Network Steward Circle. So this is one of the new circle in GEN, replacing the GEN GENOA Assembly. And we do have an article introducing the Network Steward Circle on our website and in our newsletter if you want to read a little bit more later. So we host this space every month as a channel where we can come together, share, exchange ideas, tools, also to create a flow of communication within the network and also create a circle of support for the network. So for today, I would like to share with you the flow that we're going to go through together. So we will start with a bit of time to really connect and getting to know each other in small groups. And then afterwards, I'll be sharing some updates from GEN and from GENOA. And the core part of today will be to share with you what are the available resources or tools to support community development in GEN. And we will also later on have space to share with each other how to best utilize these resources and how GENOA as the network supported organization can support you, support your community in making the best out of these resources. And at the end of the call today, we will have an official launch for our GENOA website with a celebration circle. So that would be the flow of today. Now I would like to invite everyone to a circle of connection. So we'll be getting into smaller groups of around 3 to 4 people. And then in this circle, I would love if you can share with each other. You can, of course, you can share more, but these 3 are my invitation to share a bit of yourself, where you're from, what's your passion, and then your involvement with GEN GENOA or with the Ecovillage movement. And the third part, it's somewhat a more free one. It's a question on what is a book that you like or recommend, or maybe the book that you recently read and you really appreciate it. So, so in the group, you can just manage the time yourself, and there won't be 10 minutes for the whole sharing of 3 to 4 people in the group. So just make sure that everyone have the time to share. And if you have time to spare, of course, you're free to dive deeper and just getting to know each other a little bit more. So I'm just gonna stop sharing now, and I'll put the question in the chat a bit later as well. Okay. Oh, I realized that I have my computer video off the whole time. Sorry. Right. So is there any question about this part, or are we ready to go into the beginning, getting to know each other a bit? Yeah, you're ready, yeah? Okay, I'm starting the room, and let me first just get the question for you. So the question will be, oh, thanks. The question is already in the chat, and yeah, enjoy the time together.
My microphone.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. I'm sorry if I cut the room a bit sudden. Since we are a very big group, we cannot really get to know each other in the big room, but later we will also have more time and space to get to know each other a little bit more. And I know that in the breakout room, you have been sharing about yourself, about your community, and about the book that you're reading that you like. So if you feel like, you can share it in the chat, the link to the book or the name of the book like Vivian just did. You can also share the link to your community's website. If you have a website or Facebook, yeah, feel free to just share more in the chat, and then we will just save everything and put it in the meeting notes so that you can come back to it later after the call. Okay, for the next part of today, we're gonna do a short updates of what is happening in GEN and in GENOA. So again, I would like to invite Amina for this part. And Amina, would you like me to share the presentation?
Yes, please. Thank you, Kim.
Super.
And
yeah,
feel free to hop in where you want to give updates to.
Sure. Yeah.
So update time from us in GENOA and GEN. I will just repeat maybe a few things from our last community call for those who are new today, and especially for our lovely volunteers who've joined the GENOA team. As we all know that GEN International has been going through a restructuring process for the last 2 years, and they are in the process of forming a new organization structure, which is more embedded in community, in its networks. So GEN wants to anchor itself in its network, decentralizing its role. And within that, the first circle that we formed was called the NSC, the Network Stewards Circle, which in a way is going to replace what was earlier the GEN Council. And within the NSC, our first practice is to look at forming communities and circles, or maybe fractals of people who we would like to call our community of practices. And these could be people with a common passion. These could be people with common ideas that they want to think about together, create think tanks, and maybe even create projects out of that. So within GENOA, our first community of practice that we would like to focus on is our fundraising community of practice. And the reason that we want to do that is, one of the other things that has come out of the whole GEN restructuring is that GEN used to be funded by Gaia Trust and GENOA also. And from 2022, we are going to not get any more funding. So the collective collaborative call for the network is to become self-sufficient in finances. And in that flow, we have appointed a new fundraising coordinator or a new fundraising director at GEN International called Maeve McBride. And recently we had a very, very interesting and fun fundraising workshop with her. And we do have the recording available for all those who would like to see it. And in her fundraising workshop, you see here, that's Maeve. and she shared a very beautiful TED Talk by a lady called Amanda Palmer, who is a pop artist, and she talks a lot about the art of asking. And she's also written a book about that. And I think it might also be an interesting idea for us within this network and our community to maybe create a book club and read this book together. You could look up Amanda Palmer's TED Talk called The Art of Asking. So next slide, please, Ken. Thank you. And as we continue to welcome our volunteers, last week we had a volunteers call, or was it early? Yeah, last week, right, Ken? And so yes, I think we have such amazing talent with all these beautiful people who joined us from across the globe. And I think with their support and our deepened strength within the community, we can really take GENOA into its next level of evolution. We would also like to welcome Karen. Is Karen on our call today?
No. Karen is not in the call today.
Okay, yes. So Karen is our fourth member of the GENOA NSC. So from each region of the Network Steward Circle, we have 3 members that go into the international NSC. From GENOA, we requested that we have 4 members for more diversity. Karen is from China, from Sunshine Ecovillage, and I think her Ecovillage is a great exemplar, which we all can learn from. And so it'll be really nice to have her support at the NSC. And the other members, as you all know, there's Kin, and there's our lovely Thalia from New Zealand, and myself. Yes. And so our focus, I think from now to the end of the year is really to, generate funds and to make ourselves financially stable. And we are in the process of formulating a strategy and a working group, community of practice, workshops, and we also have a team, a circle that will work very closely with me. And we have Christy from our volunteer circle. Thank you, Christy, for lending your energy to our fundraising circle. And those others who want to also collaborate with us are welcome to get in touch with Kin. And we are also kickstarting the Regen Nations 2021-2022. And this is really Kin's baby. She's just given it so much labor and so much wisdom. So I'll let Kin speak a little bit about it, the Regen Nations course that we offer from the GENOA learning platform.
Thank you, Amina. So Regeneration is the educational project that was initiated and led by GENOA, and we started last year. It's like an online version of an ED education, Ecovillage design education, but with a little bit of the elements from Theory U design as well. And we just run our first course from September 2020 to March 2021. And now we are gonna prepare to have our second version of the course. And it will be a version that is more self-paced on the GEN learning platform that we will also talk about a little bit later. And at the moment, I'm at the part of forming the core team to run the Regeneration together. And I estimate that the course will be live by the end of the year. So that's briefly about Regeneration, and if you would like to know more about it, I can of course share more links and videos later. So I think that would be it on the slide, but I would like to check for the members of GENOA if anyone wants to add any updates, if I missed something. Also, yeah, just a warm welcome. We have some new volunteers joining us in the call today as well. So feel free to wave or do a heart icon if you are the one of the new volunteer. Yeah, thanks Ananya, Christy, Kubra, and there's Marayana and Tejarash as well. Hari. Okay. So if there's no more addition updates from the other members of the team, I would like to check with the big group if you have any questions about GEN or GENOA updates? If you have questions, just feel free to unmute and ask. Yes, Tanya.
Hi, I'm Tanya from GEN Australia, and it's not a question, but it's a celebration. And that is that the team at GENOA did a fantastic use of dragon dreaming earlier this year. And it was fantastic to see how they managed that online, and the process became myceliating and grew in different ways. And I'm just so impressed looking at the way that they've grown, and it's a really nice thing to be part of the network. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya. And Harry, please go ahead.
Yes, I want to know, do we have any compendium of good practices in developing eco-villages, or maybe visual documentation or something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Harry. I think we're going to dive into that a little bit more during the call today, because the topic of the call is the resource of the Ecovillage network. And just want to, before we go there, I also just want to say that GEN have the Hilda Jackson Award every year to celebrate the Ecovillage projects that are doing a great job and having a lot of impact. And so you can read about the finalists. So we don't say winner, but we say the finalists of the Hilda Jackson Award. And these are communities that are doing really good on different dimensions of regeneration. And you can read about them. There's also video about them on GENOA and GEN website. And I think maybe Amina, you want to add something?
Yes, thank you, Ken. Yes, as we speak, Hari, the Hilda Jackson Award jury is in the middle of shortlisting the 10 finalists, and then we will also open it out for public opinion on our GENOA website and the GEN website, where you can engage and learn more from the communities. This year, I've had an honor to be on the jury. And last year, the Ecovillage where I live with my partner Bridge, TI Ecovillage, we were the winners of the award. And I would highly recommend that we as a network take this award quite seriously to, I think, grow into the best versions of ourselves. Yesterday, we were on a call with Ross Jackson in the jury. And one of the recommendations we were talking about is that each region should have their own Hilda Jackson Award through the year. And then the winners of these awards then should go into the global award shortlist. So that's something we as a network and in the GENOA office, we can also talk about how we can really create more inspiration and motivation by showcasing projects within our region that can also impact people globally. And I wanted to just also take this moment to respond to the dragon dreaming that Tanya brought in. Tanya, thank you so much. And as you know, we were on a call with a lady in Brazil, Lysandra Baruto, who is one of, I think, the oldest and the most keen dragon dreaming pursuants in our world after John Croft. She studied under John Croft, and she's also doing her thesis, and her master's thesis is on dragon dreaming. And as a network and in GENOA office, we are exploring offering this course to our network. It could be an up to a 10-day course on weekends to dive deeper into the whole process of dragon dreaming, just not the dreaming, but how to use the planning execution phase into our projects and make each project in our region a win-win project based on the dragon dreaming model, which is actually an amalgamation of many, many different project management practices from all over the world, especially the indigenous and the sacred practices. So those of you who are interested in doing this course with us can maybe later connect with Kin. We are yet to come to a decision when we will go through this, and we will soon share more details about that. So thank you. Thank you, Kin. Over to you.
Thank you for sharing, Amina. And yeah, I think we're just organically flowing into the different resources that are available in the network. So I would like to just briefly give you an overview of what are the different resources that are there for community in the Ecovillage network. And then I want to also invite Amina and Brish and Kalea as well to add in during this sharing. And then at the end, if there are any other resources of the network that you see available, you can also feel free to share. So I'm just gonna launch my slide. Okay, so I have 4 key resources that I want to share today. Of course, there are more resources and I might miss some of them, so please feel free to remind me and just put in the chat, or you can share a bit later. But for me, I find the resources in the Ecovillage network are really abundant. It's not just coming from the GEN or GENOA or GEN regions, but also coming from other affiliated organizations and networks and from the communities themselves. So among these, you can see on the screen, there is the map of regeneration with 4 areas of social, cultural, ecology, economy, and the umbrella is the whole system design with the yellow icon here. And we have also the network database, the Ecovillage Impact Assessment, and GEN Learning Platform. So let's dive into them a little bit. So as educational tool, GEN has this map of regeneration, and they have developed a collection of Ecovillage cards with 5 principles in each of the dimension of regeneration. We call it dimension. So you see here there's 4 dimensions: social, cultural, economy, ecology, and in the central is the integral, which is whole system design dimension. And in each of these dimensions, you can see that there are principles, and GEN has been developing a lot of tools to apply these principles and design into community design. So there are practices, activities that you can do with your community using these cards and the map of regeneration. And actually, if you go on GEN website, you'll see that there's 2 version of them. One version is the original version, and another updated version integrated the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, into the development of map of regeneration as well. So we have a Prezi link that will let you go deeper into each of these principles of dimension. And I would invite Amina to maybe put that in the chat if you can, or I can also share that later. And one of the idea in GENOA was also to have a workshop or a sharing session on the use of Ecovillage design cards. And Tanya, our friends from GEN Australia, who's in the call today, also is really someone who's super passionate about these Ecovillage design cards. So I think, yeah, very soon in the future, we probably will be able to put together such a sharing session or workshop on this. And next to this is that GEN has their own learning platform. It's like a Coursera or an edX platform where you can find a lot of different courses related to Ecovillage design education, but also related to different topics under the maps of regeneration that you have seen before. And a lot of the courses here are free. So some courses you have to pay a small fee. Some courses fee are higher, and there are always voucher scholarship that you can acquire from GEN, but there are also a lot of the courses are just free to enroll. So you can go up into the learn.ecovillage.org and look for any course that will maybe meet your interest at the moment. And if you have any questions on the course, just feel free to ask us. And the regeneration course of GEN last year, was also hosted on this platform. And this is a very unique platform for us in the GEN network, but it's also not exclusive for GEN members. It's open for everyone. And if you are educators and you want to host a course, you can contact GEN education team and have your course available on this platform as well. So there's a lot of possibility to learn, and but also to share your expertise with the GEN learning platform. And we also expect to have our next version of Regeneration on this platform. So that's the two education tool. And next would be a more like towards network-based tools that are available on the on GEN network. So in this part, I would like to invite Amina to share, and then later Brie from TI Ecovillage will also share with you a little bit deeper about the Ecovillage Impact Assessment.
Thank you, Ken. So for those of you who are keen to tap into the database of the network and the collective power of data that we've generated within GEN and GENOA, we have two great tools. One is the Ecovillage map. Ken could probably share the link to that, and you could visit it, and you could also list your community if it's already not listed there. And the other tool that is really very, very valuable is the solution library of GEN. And this solution library of GEN essentially has all projects that became solutions within our GEN network. So if you have a project that you feel is like an avant-garde lighthouse project that is going to change the way we live and relate to each other and our planet, you're welcome to log into our solutions library page on the GEN website and become a member, and then upload your solution there. Next slide. So the Ecovillage Impact Assessment is a tool that was recently launched, but has been in the making for many years by the GEN International team. And it has also been worked upon by a lot of communities together with the GEN International team. And this assessment tool essentially is to give communities a personal assessment and a collective assessment on how they're doing with the principles of regeneration on our map of regeneration. This is also connected to the SDGs. And I would like to invite Bridge to further talk about this in demo for you, because he's really very, very passionate about this, and he believes that GENOA and GEN could really capitalize and monetize this tool in multiple ways to bring the Ecovillage movement into mainstream. So Bridge, over to you. And Ken, we might need to give him, I think, screen sharing.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
I did that.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Amina. So I'm just gonna get my screen ready, and I will share when the moment is right, which is pretty much now, actually. Hold on. Okay, folks, so I'm going to show you a few. First of all, I think, in one of my earlier conversations, I had shared, that every organization sometimes gets known for doing like one or two things great, especially if we see some of the more recent ones like the Airbnbs and the Ubers. They just picked up a few things and they did a fantastic job with it. And I think intuitively, I think it's the Ecovillage Impact Assessment is what it could be for GEN if we really do a good job with it. And here's why I think so. So can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So there are two variants of this. I think it's still a little, maybe needs a little more refinement, but I think they'll get there quite quickly. And the more we take it, we'll get there. So there are two variants of the Ecovillage Impact Assessment. One is this individual assessment, which I have worked on, which I've opened right now, level 1 impact assessment. And it has all these questions on culture and basically all the 5 dimensions. And as an individual, you can go and start clicking on whatever you believe. It's like one of those smiley sheets which you fill up in a restaurant or any other place. You can, but it does get you thinking. And sometimes the definitions are not very clear. Like let's say we observe from natural patterns this question here, or let's take another one, which could be sometimes could be a little vague. Like let's say we have clear ways of holding each other accountable, and you might need some more clarity on what do they mean by this. And that's when I suggest you jump into take a peek into the other level 2 assessment, which has it a little more elaborate. They have like a checklist of what some of the questions seem interconnected. I don't think they're tightly interconnected, but you'll get, if you're discussing this in a group or you want to get more clarity, you'll get that. But by the end of this, what you get is some very interesting results. And I haven't yet posted TI Ecovillage publicly, but I did one internal assessment, which I'll just show you, which was just myself, but I want to get our group to do it. But this is what another Ecovillage in Netherlands, the Bokel Ecovillage, did. They completed their assessment. And in addition to getting their results, they also were able to see how they are doing SDG wise. So this is another, so when you click on any of the SDGs, let's say zero hunger, then all the questions related to that SDG and their scores pop up here. So that's also interesting, but someone like me is more interested in like scoring each and every dimension. So I'll share with you what I did. I basically copy pasted all this into an Excel and then did some self-assessment. And I'll just show you what that looked like. So here it is. And I was actually doing this exercise basically to get a community to see what are the areas where we should invest in from the Hilda Jackson funds, award funds, which we got. So essentially, I did a self-assessment, just copy pasting everything in Excel, and each of these dimensions, I got to see where we are strong, where we need developmental intervention. And then the fifth one, of course, is whole systems, which is, yeah, here it is. So you get a sense of what it is, but again, this can also be very overwhelming. So you could also use Excel to give each of these dimensions some type of a score. So here's another slide. This is actually the slide I had used in our internal meeting here, where I was basically trying to get everybody to see how we score on each of them. Like our Ecovillage is the strongest in ecology here. And then there's economy and social, and those of you who really like mark sheets, at least in our village, because we have a lot of techies and very academic people, they love percentages. So you can draw out these percentages, and then based on these percentages, you can then suggest what are, again, I've been overly critical. So, it can vary from person to person, but then it'll get more people curious about what needs to be done in various dimensions. You can also give yourself an overall score, and then you can propose initiatives which align with these areas where you need to strengthen yourself. And I think the reason why this is going to be awesome is because once all of us do it as individual eco-villages, we'll really be able to see who can I reach out to for help, So for example, I can see in economy, invest in positive impact institutions is a low score for me, but I can then reach out to another eco-village in my area or across the globe and see who are the really strong ones and get my score up there. So I think this could be really interesting. It could even give birth to like a marketplace where some type of trading activities could happen between various eco-villages of services, of skills, of products, or technologies or techniques. So there's lots of opportunities here. So that's what I wanted to share, and I would really encourage all of you to do this. I think Genoa as a region, if we can get this for everyone and as many eco-villagers from our side to actually do this, we'll have a very, very interesting and powerful intellectual asset. So that's it from me. Happy to answer any questions if you'd like to ask.
I'd like to ask a question. Thanks so much for that really helpful
Okay,
presentation.
Rubina, and then after that, Tanya. Yes, go ahead, Rubina.
Yeah. I'm wondering, I've done this and I found it a very powerful tool. And I agree with you that seeing this filled in by other eco-villages, you'd be able to network and learn from each other's strengths. I'm wondering if you have an image of the result which ends up in a shape, and just with that one visual, you can see instantly where your strengths and weaknesses are. It sort of like ends up with a shape, sort of like a blob with jagged bits.
Right. So, Rubina, I've not yet filled it up for TI Ecovillage on the GEN website. I just needed some data for an internal meeting. So I had just copy pasted into a spreadsheet and created these charts because it was like a very quick meeting we needed to have, but I wanted to get everybody an idea. So I'm now going to gather my community and try to do this together. So that's when we'll get those interesting charts you're talking about.
I'll see if I can find it on my computer and flash it up later.
Oh, fantastic. That would be awesome. Yeah. Tanya, you had a question?
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a really sexy little pie chart. And I'm curious because you did it for the village. And I'm wondering if when you bring together all of the villages, if you can integrate that into that Excel, and whether or not you're willing to impart that particular presentation, because I love it. And I think that for ambassadors, that would be a phenomenal training. And I know that Benjamin is looking for the next training program and what do ambassadors need and want. And I would love that yours was incorporated. And I think to answer what Rubina was saying about this, like a spider chart, that the stage 2, actually, when you showed it with Bokel Ecovillage in the Netherlands, it was showing that somewhat. It was just bright. Yeah.
I think the spider chart is, I mean, it's a feature in Excel. I guess if I pull up this data and click on spider chart, I could probably get that. But again, I'm saying don't take, because we were a little, we were still not sure if we should put this online, because, you know, it being an eco-village, you want to get consensus. So I needed something to share this internally in one of our meetings. And it was interesting. As I filled it up, it took me about, I think, half the day to put it up. And there were questions I was wrestling with in terms of interpretation. But then we had a good, powerful meeting around this. So that's where I found it was worth all that effort. And I think now once we get a bunch of us to put this together, then they'll share it on the more open platform.
Yes, Tanya.
I'd love to see an impact assessment being run across the entire region. So that we could invite eco-villages, intentional communities, and what else? Transition towns to be doing this, because I believe that by having that data and that research, that we would then be in a very strong position to present to our national governments to be able to get funding and advocacy, and potentially also then to have a training and a multiplier effect, because as we can see globally, we got problems.
Yes.
And GEN has solutions. And some of those solutions are about being joyous and collaborating with our Indigenous peoples. And I'd love to see that. Thank you.
Yes, I think, Tanya, just adding a bit to that, I think one of the things we could really do is start a campaign with our communications teams with the impact assessment, calling forth call for action, please take the impact assessment, and then also do a feedback loop, because GEN International team is very keen that this impact assessment continues to, grow into something of higher potential. So the more people that use it and give feedback, the better the tool will become. And then the more data we have, the more impact we'll be able to generate, and also connect it to our fundraising, right? To bring in, to tomorrow think of moving from donor-based fundraising to impact investment. I think it's a great tool. Yes, back to you, Tanya.
So there's a question from Thalea. Your hand has been raised for a while. Would you like to ask a question?
It's not actually a question. It's more a reinforcement of what everybody is saying. And I guess from an Indigenous perspective as well, we have quite similar tools that can actually be integrated into, say for instance, we're talking about the impact assessment, the Ecovillage Impact Assessment. We actually have cultural impact assessments here in Aotearoa, and I know they do in Australia as well. And they are actually utilised tools, to raise the regeneration and revitalisation of Indigenous ways of life. So, just imagine if we're actually integrating these tools, into not only our existing eco-villages and our traditional villages, but actually, moving and navigating in between these tools so that they are being utilised not only for grants and funding, but also they're meaningful tools that we can, become experts in different specialised areas, and then we're actually sharing that knowledge and transferring that knowledge to all and sundry across the world. So very, very excited about what you've done, Bridge. It's fantastic. We have some wonderful experts that are, Excel gurus as well, that do, very much the same as what you do when it comes to that type of data.
Well, actually, I was a little nervous about sharing this on this forum, because TI Ecovillage has a lot of people who are from sciences and mathematics and corporate backgrounds. So they love numbers and they love looking at charts. So I had customized this for them, but I'm happy that, everybody feels positively about it. Because I think the real power is actually to find those hidden gems within our network and really get them and their work amplified. And
yeah, absolutely.
It could be very interesting on the economic dimension. I think there could be a lot of sort of trading opportunities between different eco-villages based on their strong areas, their expertise, all those.
Okay, in our situation, thank you, Amina. She just asked me to share a little bit more about how we use these tools in our community. So, say for instance, the cultural impact assessments are actually utilised in big groups when we are looking at particular developments, say for instance of a location. So say some developers are coming into our locations and they are going to put up high-rise buildings or high density of housing and things like that. So if they are in and around or close by what we call mana whenua, or close by tribal areas, tribal estates, tribal areas of interest, then what the cultural impact assessment does for the scientists actually is it actually tells a story of what has denigrated or what waterways have kind of the quality of the water, what has the impacts of high density housing or high density development done in the last 20 to 30 years. And what that could actually do and has done in our situation is that it regulates development, where not only is it's not restricting, but what it is it's actually bearing in mind the ecological impacts and the environmental and cultural impacts that big developments can actually create without actually realizing it until 10, 20, 30 years down the track. So, you know, these tools are actually like being implemented into our policies, our government policies. So when developers are engaging, say, for instance, engineers for a big subdivision, they're engaging tribal practitioners as well. So, you know, these are not tools to be only sharing of knowledge. They actually transform and change government policy here in New Zealand. So, you know, this is what I'm excited about. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This is such a rich sharing, and I just want to raise that we do want to create more space for everyone to share. That's why I would love to invite us now to get into smaller groups, because I also see a lot of hands are raising, and I think in smaller groups we can actually share more and also note down more of the sharing that we're having. I think this is a very enriched development that we're having. Just really quickly to address Luvian's question in the chat, the Ecovillage Impact Assessment, it's now open to the projects that are registered on GEN website, ecovillage.org. So if you are from an Ecovillage, Eco Project, Eco Farm, as long as you have your profile on GEN website, then you can access and do the impact assessment. And then you can do the individual impact assessment on there as well if you belong to one of these projects or communities. I would love to maybe just now break this flow a little bit to invite us into small group to create more space for sharing. It's just going to be 10 minutes in group of 3 or 4. And in this group, you can share questions if you have, and you can share your insights, your thoughts of how to use all of these tools. It's not just the Ecovillage Impact Assessment, but also any other tools that you found from GEN. And after that, we'll go back into this big room, and then we'll harvest what are the highlights from the small group. And we also have the link to our meeting notes that are open for everyone to edit. I will ask Luvian to put the link in the chat. And so when you are in your breakout room, if you can please have one of the members of the breakout group just take note of the highlights or questions that you have in the meeting notes, it would be awesome. And if you cannot access the note, you can just take note directly in the chat box. That's also fine too. So yeah, since we don't have a lot of time left, so I would love it if everyone is okay for us to go into the breakout room now and then share there. And then we come back and do a big harvest as a group. Does that sound okay to everyone? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so I have the group ready. It would be group of mainly 3 or 4 members. I'm gonna start the group now.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And I know that it was a very quick round of sharing. I hope that you did manage to pour some thoughts and maybe raise some questions. So any insights from the breakout group that you would like to share here in the main room? Please feel free to unmute yourself and share it, or you can also just put them in the chat if you don't feel like talking.
I don't have enough time to share my thoughts, but whatever, just say that.
Yeah.
Thanks. I saw Tanya hands was up. Yes.
Yes, I'll always jump in. Tanya from Australia, and I was in the group with Hari from India. Zom, I'm not sure where she's from. If that is the correct pronunciation, I apologize. And with Rabina from New Zealand. And we talked about the tools. Hari has a great experience in sustainability, and he feels it's really important to write. Not only to write, but get visual images and video, and that there is a huge potentiality to create a communications, and that we take our network and we connect with wider networks. Is that a good summarization? Thanks, Hari. Rabina remembered going to Findhorn in 2016 for an international Ecovillage presentation, and her 12 steps to starting an Ecovillage, because she's been doing this for quite some years, were recorded at Findhorn. So that's another resource. And I'm doing the Ecovillage Design online course, and my specific group are focusing on tools, just on tools and networks. So we're a bit excited about where that could lead to. And that was why I was particularly interested to hear of what Bridge is doing with his, because I think that'll fit nicely into our suite of or tool bag. And I'm curious as well to find out more about Talia's, because I suspect that their Indigenous Maori tool may lead me to learn more about our Australian tool, and we are embracing Indigenous wisdom far more. So that was our group. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe one more sharing from someone else in another group.
I think the Pasay from our group had an interesting evolutionary to the impact assessment. Would you like to share a bit? He has a vision how we can mainstream, and not just for the eco-villages, but also for governments and other people who are just entering into this space. Yes, the Pasay.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to talk to Bridge about this possibility. It's sort of something which we can develop further on in addition to impact assessment. So see, impact assessment would be there for people who've already hopped on to the transition or transitioning on to more eco-sustainable and to more regenerative forms of living or sort of economic working. But what we can also be done, what we can also cater to are the people who are just interested to learn more about this concept. As you said, learning is a phenomenal aspect of it. People who are interested to hop on to this as new entrants, of people who are currently engaged with their conventional living arrangements, who are engaged in their current conventional communities, for organizations or governments who have sects of existing conventional communities. So for this, what we can sort of modulate or manifest impact assessment into would be a sort of change assessment, which would entail the sort of, instead of people inputting their transition characteristics and variables or their current present status or variables, they would actually input their baseline status and baseline conditions and baseline data. And again, it would be a completely different stream of data inputs for us as aggregators for the data, where we would be using our culmination of best practices as our endline data, as a data of the best practices which can be suggested and recommended to the people who input the baseline characteristics. So wherein the people who are wherein through impact assessment we are having the existing practices aligned to the sustainable development goals or nationally determined contributions and the SDGs or NDCs, while we are having people assessed and sort of ranked on how well they're doing on those. Through sort of change assessment, what we can do is tell people that these are the practices, or support or suggest or recommend to people that these are the practices that you can take up to actually help propagate and propel your movement within this alignment, within this specific characteristic, with regards to this specific SDG or NDC. So I believe that impact assessment is a beautiful contribution sense of actually helping propagate the idea further, but this can also be mirrored onto the other plane to actually bring more people in and get the word spread. And actually, as a business model as well, this actually holds a lot of scope, is what I believe. It's a beautiful design which can be taken a lot further as well.
Thank you so much, Tabase. I do feel like these are really rich topics of discussion that we can keep digging and keep exchanging on. And I think in the NSC of GENOA, the Network Steward Circle, we can look into how to harvest the sharing from today and then continue the discussion either on a platform or on the next call with the network. And also, I just want to also remind that other than the Ecovillage Impact Assessment, GEN do have many other types of resources that are tailored to maybe people who have just heard about Ecovillage, have no idea what it is and just want to learn, like Tapase say, or we also have a lot of questions coming for GENOA on like, I want to create a community, but I don't know what to do. So how can I start? Can you support us in that? So all of these questions, I think, it takes, of course, research and then people sitting down together and talk and invest their time to learn. But we here as the network support organization, we want to seek out the way that we can best support communities and individuals in the network to learn, to look for resources better. So I think that in the future, even after this call, we would love to hear more from you, the ideas of how we can help you to find the information, to utilize it better. And just as we are closing this round of sharing, I would like to just also share with you that on our website, which we're gonna have a launching celebration right after this. On our website, you can find the archives of our newsletter, and in this newsletter, they are sharing from different communities and eco-villages in GENOA as well. And we also have our resource and stories into our annual reports that you can also maybe have a look if you have time. And as the end of today,